Thanks for having me. I want to come by and introduce myself. For those who haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Chapin Rose. The last several years I've had the honor of representing the folks to the east of you in Coles, Douglas, and to the north up in Piatt County. And with the new changeover in maps, I'm very fortunate and happy to be coming into Moultrie County. I look forward to meeting everyone over the next, starting actually the day after the election. We've got a transition plan we're putting into place, getting around all the counties. In fact, the toughest part of the last several months has been, I'm not your person yet, and so people who call and say, I need help with this or need help with that, we still have to refer to Senator McCarter, who of course will still be here through January. But starting in a couple weeks, we'll be here. I hope you see me all the time. In fact, this is, I think, about the third time in the last 2 weeks I've been through Sullivan and through Moultrie County. So I pride myself on being accessible. I pride myself on being available. I like handling things personally rather than sending staff. Now I will say that this is 10 counties now, which is double the 5 counties that previously. It's a little bit harder. But if you let me know about something, we'll try to be here personally. By way of background, my wife Camille and I were high school sweethearts. We have 4 children. In fact, I'm going to leave you here. And
sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm actually going to leave you here, and I'm going to coach my son's flag football team later tonight. So I was a prosecutor before going to Springfield, so I have a background in the law enforcement side of things. But over in Springfield, I've specialized in the insurance committee, the spokesman for higher education appropriations. We're involved in a lot of agriculture issues, which I know is very important to this county. A very good farm bureau rating. So I know you got a lot of people to talk tonight. I just want to come by and introduce myself. Please call me. I know we got both sides of the aisle here represented. Please call me if you need something, no matter what side you're coming from. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for being here. I'm Michaela McWhirter. I want to say a special thanks to the Sullivan Chamber for putting on a great event. It is pretty awesome that we have something like this in such a great community. So tonight's about making a decision. You get to hear both sides of our story and make your decision after that. I want to wish my opponent, Cindy, the best of luck. And start off by introducing myself a little bit. I am Michaela, like I said. I am from Champaign originally. Moved here with my husband. He's actually from Peoria, contrary to popular belief. I've been hearing he's a foreign national lately. He is not. He's from here in Peoria. We moved to Sullivan in 2009 when I got my teaching job at the high school. He started working for QNS in 2010, and then we bought a house in 2010. We were very committed to living in Sullivan. We love this community. We've been here for going on 4 years after August. So we would like to stay, and we are committed to being here, and we love being here. So thank you for your support.
Okay. I would also like to thank the Chamber and the News Progress for hosting this event and an opportunity to present my position and answers to your questions. I trust that at the conclusion of this event that the voters of Moultrie County will have a clearer understanding of the duties of my office and the qualifications to continue as their clerk. A little bit about my family background is I've been in this community for 29 years. My husband is from Sullivan. I have 2 children, and they graduated in Sullivan School, so I've been a member of this community for a long time. I have served on the Sullivan School Board, and prior to being Circuit Clerk, at the time, when I was appointed Circuit Clerk, I had to step down from the school board because there was a conflict. And I have also worked on other organizations within the community, United Way, and through the years of working at the Sheriff's Department. So that's a little bit about myself.
Okay. What are the top concerns and goals in the Circuit Clerk's office you hope to address during the next term?
Legislation is always a top concern because of new fines and fees to collect. For instance, beginning January 1st, there will be 10 new public acts that impact the clerk's office in some manner. One such act creates the guardianship and advocacy operations fee, which requires the clerk to collect an additional $100 upon filing of a probate case to defray the expense of maintaining and operating the guardianship of advocacy commission. Due to budget shortfalls, legislators are continuing to look to the courts as a way to fund their projects. It is an ongoing process to ensure fines and fees are properly assessed and distributed. We are currently collecting 100 fines and fees for various local and state agencies. So this is a real issue for our office. Disaster preparedness is another concern I have, and it ties to a goal of mine as well. Currently, I am scanning both closed and new cases that we can access the image in our system and print a copy out without retrieving the file. The images are also saved to a server, which is backed up on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. The backups are important in case of a disaster in which the paper files are damaged or destroyed. My goal is to eventually have all case types scanned into the system. Another goal is to operate a paperless court system. During court, the judge will have access to the images from his computer on the bench, and the paper file will no longer have to be presented in court. This will save time in my office because it will reduce the amount of times the paper files will have to be handled. This may take a while to achieve because the paper habit is hard to break, but all the necessary components are available and in place.
Okay, on top of the general day-to-day duties of the circuit clerk's office, I'd also really like to work on the website and technology in the office itself. Provide more information and instruction, guidance, and on how to use forms, file cases, kind of provide more education so that people can understand how the circuit clerk's office actually works and what is expected. I would like to work with the staff in the office to provide staff integration, improve morale, and have a unified staff that works together. When you have a unified staff, it is more efficient, effective, and helps the office run more smoothly. And also customer service. I feel that customer service is really important. People are generally afraid to go to the courthouse because they're unaware of what goes on. They are intimidated, and having the utmost best customer service that you can is really going to help people feel more comfortable when they come into your office, feel like they can trust you and work with you. And then also move on to paperless filing so that you can have a greener environment. That's what a lot of people are going to, is green. So that's what I would like to work on.
What special qualities, skills, and experience make you the better qualified candidate for circuit clerk?
Okay, as I said earlier, I went to Eastern Illinois University, got my bachelor's of science and technology. I have a concentration in business education and a minor in Spanish. That degree pretty much is a business management degree. It would allow me to do the same things that a business manager would do, but with the ability to teach. I'm conversationally fluent in Spanish so that I would be able to help the Hispanic population. I was also just accepted into the graduate program at Notre Dame de Namur to work on a master's of public administration. I was a pre-law minor in college for a year while I was interning with the public defender. I decided that I didn't want to go into law because I didn't want to be prosecution or the defense. It just wasn't for me, but I really enjoyed working in the courtroom with the court system and have been seeking a way to stay with that, and I think this would be the best fit. While I was working with the public defender, I went to court every week for drug court. I became pretty involved in the Coles County Drug Court, helping them with filings, with paperwork. I did all of their documentation and kept record for them on drug court. I'm very good with technology. Moultrie County really is needing to update their technology. We're a little bit behind. As I was researching for this, I came across some pretty good websites and good information on different circuit clerk offices, and I would really like to work on that, and technology is one of my strong suits. I have a degree in technology, so that's what I would hope to bring to the table.
I have been circuit clerk for 7 years, and I came from a law enforcement background. I've worked at the sheriff's office for 22 years, with the last 16 years as a deputy sheriff. One of my assignments was court security officer, so I was able to actively participate and see the judicial system from beginning to end in both criminal and civil cases. I was appointed to circuit clerk in 2005 when the previous clerk retired. So this was a way for me to continue as well in the law enforcement, and I saw all sides of it from that. And as a circuit clerk, I've taken my duties seriously and make every effort to improve my skills. I am active in the Illinois Association of Court Clerks and was elected from my zone, which is comprised of 23 counties, to the executive board. Currently, I'm in my second year on that board. I attend training at the Illinois Association of County Officials, conference twice a year. Our association hosts an annual training conference, and our zone has local training sessions quarterly. I am co-chair of the legislative committee. The importance of the legislative committee is to educate legislators on how their proposed legislation may impact the clerk's office, because nothing is ever as simple as it seems, and what might work in theory is not always practical. I have been a mentor to new clerks in a program developed by the Administrative Office of the Illinois Courts. The purpose of a mentor is to help give the new clerk confidence and provide hands-on assistance if requested. I have strived to take full advantage of the resources of my fellow clerks offer and learn from them, because I can assure you I can always find a clerk that has worked through whatever situation I find myself in and can give me guidance. Likewise, now I can answer their questions as well. For these reasons, I'm a better circuit clerk and a better candidate.
Okay. Are there new computer software technologies available for use in circuit court offices, and would you be a proponent of using them or not, and how would you use them?
I absolutely am a proponent, because I have exactly all the technology that is available at this time. I implemented our present case management system in February 2008, which added a lot more functionality than the older system we had. One of the big improvements was the ability to electronically report court dispositions to the Secretary of State and Illinois State Police. Since then, I've added components to the system as they have become available. In June 2008, I added Judici, which allowed court case information to be available for the first time online. In December of 2009, I added ePay, which gave the defendants the ability to make online credit and debit card payments. By staying within the same system provider, those payments are automatically recorded in my case system. There is no cost to the county, because the credit card fees are paid by the card holder. April 2010, after approval by the Administrative Office of the Courts, I added e-plea, which allowed defendants to plead guilty and pay their non-court appearance, traffic, and conservation citations online, and not have to mail in a guilty plea into my office. In September of this year, I was allowed to expand my program to include court supervision requests as well. In December of 2011, I added imaging, which again laid the foundation for a paperless court. In 2012, I added e-appeal, which provides tools to prepare on appeal record and transmit it electronically to the Supreme Court. October 1st, Moultrie County was given permission by the Supreme Court to file electronic appeals. Adams and Moultrie County are the only two counties in the 4th Appellate District that has been given this ability. But the most important thing is all these programs I have implemented have been at no cost to the taxpayers. I have purchased the programs with funds collected for the specific purpose of automation and document storage of court records.
I kind of struggled with this question. I was unfamiliar with the technology in the circuit clerk's office itself, but I've heard that Cindy keeps it pretty well up to date and she's on top of it. So what I will say is that if there ever becomes something more currently available, I would be a huge proponent of updating to the most current available technology. If anything is newer or better or more improved, that would be a priority for me. I would implement it and use it right away. Like I said, I have my degree in technology, and I believe it's incredibly important to use the newest technology available. I'm a very quick learner when it comes to using new technology. We just got a new computer software program with the Village of Arthur. Normally takes people about 3 months to learn it, and I learned it in less than a month. They actually offered me a job to go teach other people to use it. So I am pretty good at learning new programs and softwares, and think that it's incredibly important to use those. While I was teaching at the school, I also implemented some new software. When I came on, there was no web design software available for the computer teacher. So I found a program that was free to the school. There was no cost up front. It allowed every student in the classroom to have a copy of it on their personal computer so that they're able to work on their homework at home as well. So I am a proponent of saving tax dollars and not spending money if it's not necessary. So. Okay. After listening to each side, I hope that you agree with my degree in technology and concentration in business, along with my minor in Spanish, my experience working in the court system in Coles County, my drive and passion for working with the community, and passion for working with people in general, the experience in updating technology, that I'm the best candidate to enact change in the Circuit Clerk's office in the next 4 years. My husband and I own a house here in town and plan to stay in town for as long as we can, hopefully beyond the 4-year term. I will work hard to make information more readily available to the community, especially people that are not familiar with the Circuit Clerk's office in general, and to make the office more friendly, less intimidating, and to be a place that people feel welcome. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for your support. We'll see you on November 6th.
I certainly didn't realize my office was so unfriendly. But I feel that I am the better qualified candidate simply because of my years' experience in the office, in the community, in my law enforcement background. Coming into this position was an easy transition, like I said, because it just was a natural progression. I have worked with defendants from arrest through prosecution, through sentencing, and now collection of their fines and fees. My office cannot be an advocate for people. We have implemented a self-help center recently in all the libraries and in the courthouse to allow people the opportunity to find out how to answer or how to file cases or answer information that they have received. Because we cannot instruct people on how to file cases and what to do, because we are not attorneys and we are prohibited from giving that information. I have been a long member of this community and tend to be here. I feel my office has the most technology available. I will continue to move forward with the next step of e-filing, but at this time it's a pilot project in the Supreme Court. And when that is available, that is something I will pursue if it's needed for the court, because larger counties will have that, and then attorneys that come and practice here will expect that same service as well. So I hope that I hope the voters in Moultrie County decide to keep me as circuit clerk, because I feel I've done a good job in representing them at the association and state level, and I will continue to do so.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to introduce our two candidates for state's attorney, Marvin Hanson and Jeremy Ritchie. And we're going to start with you each giving a 1-minute opening remarks. And let me see who goes first, so we're fair. Jeremy, you go first. 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Jeremy Ritchie. I'm the Republican candidate for state's attorney. I am from Coles County. I was born and raised in central Illinois, one county over. I was born in a rural town of less than 800 people, and I have rural small town values. And if I'm elected, I will move here and make Sullivan my town. I'll probably actually move in the country most likely, but it could be the town. But I will make Sullivan my community, and I will live here and invest in this community. If elected, my top priority will be the safety of this community. I will support harsh penalties for anybody accused of a crime. If they're convicted, I will fight for harsh plea agreements and harsh sentences at sentencing hearings. I'm a former prosecutor. I was a prosecutor in the Coles County State's Attorney's Office, and I will bring that experience to Moultrie County. I'm also an experienced trial lawyer, and I spend a great deal of my time as a lawyer trying cases. Criminal law is my passion. It's what I do, and I'd love to be your state's attorney in Moultrie County.
I'd like to thank the Chamber, as well as the News Progress for holding this forum. Excuse me, fly. I found out when I was reviewing the questions for this program that 2 minutes goes by an awfully quickly. I started trying to cut down and cut down and cut down. You give a lawyer 2 minutes and they want to take about a half an hour. So. But I believe that I am the best qualified person for this position. I graduated from law school in 1983 and have practiced law for many years. I live in Moultrie County. I have a wife and 2 sons. We live in Sullivan, and this is my town. This is where I've chosen to live. I've been here for 18 years, and I plan on staying here indefinitely.
Okay, thank you. What special qualities skills, and experience make you the better qualified candidate for state's attorney?
Well, first of all, besides the obvious fact that I've been the state's attorney for 8 years. I've experienced the job. Before that, I was public defender for 8 years, so I know both sides of the job. And before that, I was an assistant state's attorney for 1.5 years. So altogether, that's 17 years over 17 years in the Moultrie County court system. I am experienced in this position. In addition to that, I was a member of Stone and Hanson. I started out at Stone and became Hanson eventually as I moved up. And during that, I served as an attorney in very many civil type of cases. And believe it or not, the state's attorney is not just a prosecutor. The state's attorney is responsible for advising all of the departments, whether it be the county clerk, the tax assessor, the health department, about things. The state's attorney is responsible for drawing up contracts for the county or intergovernmental agreements and things like that. In addition, I have what I believe is life experience. I've been a farmer, I've worked in a factory, I've worked as a mechanic, I've worked as a carpenter, I've lived in a trailer court. I've lived in an apartment that cost me $60 a month, and that included utilities. I have struggled to find out how I was going to pay for the next meal. I understand the problems of most of the people that I'm compelled to deal with, the defendants. Most of the defendants that we deal with are poor. And until you understand where they're coming from, you can't understand how to deal with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I bring a long history of excellence to my job as an attorney. I graduated high school as co-salutatorian in my high school class at Charleston High School. I graduated with a near 4.0 GPA grade point average in college. It wasn't quite a 4.0, but it was close. I graduated in the top 10% of my law school class at SIU Law School, and I was selected to the SIU School of Law Journal, which is an honor that a small percentage of law students get selected to. I was inducted into the Lakeland College Distinguished Alumni Society. I was selected to the Journal Gazette Times Courier 20 under 40 class this year. I have a perfect 10.0 rating from Avo.com in criminal law and DUI. I sit on the ISBA, which is the Illinois State Bar Association Traffic Law and Court section, which is the brain trust, the steering committee for DUI and traffic issues for the State Bar Association. And I also lecture for the State Bar Association for continuing legal education for lawyers. Lawyers have to have a certain number of hours before they can renew their license. And I go throughout the state and teach on DUI and traffic issues. I have taught Chicago area attorneys, St. Louis area attorneys on DUI and traffic issues. And criminal law is my passion. It's what I do. My first job out of law school was a prosecutor in Coles County as an assistant state's attorney. In 2008, I opened my own practice as a criminal defense lawyer. And in that capacity, I've handled all types of cases, from simple traffic tickets to complex and serious felony cases. I'm an experienced trial worker. I'm also just generally, I'm a very hard worker. You can talk to any of my friends and family members, and they will tell you if I have any fault when it comes to work is I work too many hours and I work too hard. And I will bring that dedication and that work ethic to the office. So in sum, I'm told I have 15 seconds left. Criminal law is what I do. It's my passion. I do it well. And as your state's attorney, I will do the job well.
What are the top concerns and goals in the state's attorney's office you hope to address during the next term?
Thank you. My top priority as state's attorney will be the safety of the community. I do plan to live here and rest my head here, and I want the community to be safe. And that's going to be my top priority. I want it to be safe for myself, for my friends, and the neighbors around me. And I think criminal defendants have to know that actions have consequences. That when you commit a crime, there needs to be a swift action, as swiftly as is possible in the legal system, which, as Marvin and I both know, can be a little slow, but as swift as can be in the legal section, as swiftly as is possible in the system, there must be a consequence, and defendants must know that if they commit a crime, they will be punished. I think that leads to a safer community. And I think that if there's a crime with a victim involved, such as battery or child molestation or rape or any other serious crime, that there has to be a serious punishment, and I will aggressively prosecute those type of cases. I'm also concerned in the number of cases that are filed in Moultrie County. I looked on judici.com yesterday morning, and these numbers will change as the year goes on. But this year, criminal misdemeanor filings are at 95. Now that excludes traffic misdemeanors, but it's the type of misdemeanors that the state's attorney's office files by information. And there was 59 felony cases filed this year. By comparison, Coles County has 701 misdemeanors and 365 felony cases. Now, Coles County is 3.5 to 4 times the size of Moultrie County, but if you take those numbers by 3 to 4, they still don't add up. I don't think cases are being filed enough in Moultrie County, and that is a problem I will address. I also will be independent as your state's attorney, and everybody will be treated the same, no matter who they are. And I'm told that I have about 5 seconds left, and so I will leave my answer at that.
Okay.
When I took office 8 years ago, methamphetamine was rampant in Moultrie County. It was all over the place. Right now, it is almost non-existent. The task force quit looking for it several years ago because they couldn't find it here. I prosecuted most of the big meth providers and was able to convict them. They all went to prison, and basically the problem was diminished. But it's been replaced. Prescription drugs is now coming into the schools. It's coming into the young adults, and they're misusing Ritalin, hydrocodone, Oxycontin. This is the next drug of choice that's going to be amongst our young adults, and sometimes they're not so young adults. Also, there are other problems, other drugs. Synthetic cannabis is coming in. Sometimes that's been known to kill people, and whoever's manufacturing that is staying one step ahead of the state law because they keep taking out what is illegal in it to provide that to the children. Bath salts is another thing. They're again changing the chemical components, and that's coming into our system. There's also been a big influx of burglaries in Moultrie County in the past year. I'm concerned about that because, frankly, most of this is crimes of opportunity that's brought on by young kids because people are frankly not locking their cars. I would like to get an education program out there where people simply lock their cars and take away that opportunity. Also, I'm concerned about mentally challenged people. This past week, I've had 4 cases in which mentally challenged people all got into the system, and there's no good answer. The state has removed funding for that. We're doing our best to provide placement for these people, for treatment for these people. It's not for the criminal justice, but I am concerned about it, and I will see what options I can to explore solutions to that problem.
Okay. As state's attorney for a small county, there would be a strong possibility that you would be familiar with or even friends with defendants. How would this affect your ability to be tough on crime?
That is pretty simple. I've had that problem for 8 years. If you know me, you know I've coached baseball in Sullivan and in Moultrie County for the last 12 years, up to the last couple of years when I got too old. And so I know a lot of these kids, and they're now, the kids that we're coaching are now young adults. They're teenagers and young adults. And what I've found is if the person is a friend, or if it is a person, a kid that has been to my house, is a friend with my son, and I feel there's a conflict of interest, I simply refer it to the state appellate prosecutor. We pay the state appellate prosecutor $7,000 a year to handle complex cases and to handle our appeals and tax cases, and I just refer to them, and it's out of my office. If in fact, and this is only for the serious ones, if there's a case in which it's maybe not so serious, where it's an underage drinking, or it's a traffic offense, I simply refer it to my assistant, Gary Weber. Gary Weber is probably as good an attorney as you could want in that position. He has very sound judgment, and I've turned over cases to Mr. Weber and never once looked back because I trust him to handle it, same diligence and the same ability that I have to be as fair with these kids or defendants as is possible. The law, in fact, the law aspect of the state's attorney job is simple. It's the simplest part of the job. What the complex part of the job is dealing with these people. And in the case of the people that I'm familiar with or people that I don't like, it's much simpler to handle it off and not touch the case.
Thank you. Like Marvin, this is not going to affect me. First of all, state, but I would continue the policy of using the appellate prosecutor where there are legal conflicts. But I want everybody in this community to know that I will strive for independence. I am not from Moultrie County. I am from Coles County, neighboring Coles County. And to the extent that I'm not from here, I think that's actually an asset, that I do have less ties here. That allows me to be independent and see things from the outside. But as I'm here longer and I get to know more people, those sorts of issues, will arise, and I'll get to know people better. And my policy will simply be to treat everybody the same. The prosecutor's job is to do justice, and justice means that everybody gets treated the same under the law. Justice must be blind. I don't care if you're rich or you're poor, if you're connected, not well connected, if you're a part of a favored group or a disfavored group, everybody gets treated the same. If you break the law, there will be a consequence no matter who you are, and again, I believe that will lead to a safer community. My loyalty will be to the community in general, to justice, and not to specific individuals. My promise to you is if I'm elected state's attorney, I will strive to maintain independence and put all of my heart into the job, including being independent. Well, thank you for everybody's time who's here today and everybody who is watching on the internet and maybe either right now or later on. And I'd like to thank the News Progress and the Chamber for putting this event together. In a nutshell, if I'm elected state's attorney, my term will be about the safety of this community. That is my top priority, and I'll do whatever it takes to make this community safe. Like I said before, when I lay my head down at night, I want to know that I've done everything possible that I can to make this community safe. I want my friends to be safe, I want my family members to be safe, and I want my neighbors to be safe. During this campaign season, going door to door and at different events, I've had the opportunity to talk to a number of people, and I've heard a number of concerns. One concern is that more cases need to be filed. I will make that a priority, and I'll get more cases filed. As I've talked to people, they don't believe that penalties have been harsh enough in this county. I will address that issue, and I will seek to have harsher plea agreements and harsher sentencing hearings. As I've talked to people, they've also communicated to me that the state's attorney's office did not communicate well enough with them. I will make it a priority to put communications policies in place where people, when they come to the state's attorney's office, they feel like they've been heard, they've been listened to. I may not always agree with them, but I want them to have access to me and that they have a chance to voice their concerns. Being state's attorney is a job I look forward to. Criminal law is my passion. It's what I do, it's what I've done since law school, and it's what I'm about. I have the experience to do it, and I ask for your vote this November. A vote for me is a vote for a safer community, for aggressive prosecution, and for independent prosecution. Thank you.
Marvin, 2-minute closing remarks.
Thank you. I too would like to thank the Chamber and News Progress for holding this forum. Hopefully it does some good and get some information out to those voters that are still undecided. I'd also like to thank my family for the support that they have provided me while I've been out campaigning for the last 2 months. Someone has to do the cooking and the cleaning and do the lawn work and stuff like that. They've been very supportive behind the scenes. Dan Flannel has said on numerous occasions, he's a judge in the circuit, that the most powerful position most powerful person in Moultrie County is the state's attorney. With that power becomes great responsibility. And in order to exercise that responsibility, a person has to be experienced. He has to have gone through the wars. I've I've gone through the wars in the criminal courts for over 17 years. In fact, my first jury trial was in 1983. I've done that. I've experienced life to its fullest. I've done in the working environment and the living environment. I've raised a family. You don't know how to deal with juveniles until you've dealt with juveniles. And I've dealt with them in my family. You have to understand where they're coming from, and they're not coming from the same place you are. And in order to, and not overlook it, but that is one of the most important parts of this job, the juveniles. We're trying to keep them from being adult offenders. We're trying to train them. And I have done every juvenile case that's come in to my office myself because of the importance of that position. Now, a man once thanked me that I handled his son's case the way he did. And his son has now since graduated from college and has raised a family, has started a family, and he's got a good job. And he says, the way I raised that, the way I handled that case was justice. It may be on one of the cases I did prosecute, I don't know. But maybe it's a case that didn't need to be prosecuted because he learned. Justice is not necessarily getting a conviction. It's not necessarily a harsh sentence. It's to change the behavior and get that person to behave themselves and modify their life so they become responsible citizens.
Thank you both of you for being
But if those that don't know, I'm Lynn Reed, I'm the coroner. Was first elected in 1980. I wish I could say I was only 19 when I was elected. Unfortunately, that's not true. But don't have any big plans for the next 4 years. You know, the job is we're helping people at a day that's the most difficult time in their life. They've lost a family member, and so it's a difficult task, difficult job. We just do the best we can to help them get through it, help them deal with it, get things in order, and let them move on and get their life back straight. You know, it's awful. I've been heavily involved in the training of all the coroners in Illinois, and a lot of the folks know that have been around. For about 20 years now, I've been organizing and kind of directing the training for a lot of the sheriff's departments, police departments, your crime scene people that you read about. Cindy and Jan, they helped me with that. A lot of it's been in the media, and you've read about it, but that's just something that was important to me, that at the beginning in 1980, there was nothing being done. And there was a lot of things that weren't being investigated properly. So with the advanced training that we've done, we've made the whole system better. I'm proud of that. I plan to continue with that. And I just plan to continue to do the office as we have been and try to help people. And that's what it's about. I'd be glad to answer any questions that anybody might have. If I can do that in the time allotted. If not, I'm always available to answer questions. Folks can stop by the office anytime, any concerns they have, any questions about what we do or why we do that. I think one of the things I'd like to say is we have a very important election coming up, and want everybody, whether they're at home viewing this or if they're here, be sure and get out and vote. You know, we've got good candidates running for offices. We need to support those people, and we need to exercise that right. You know, sometimes our percentage of turnout at elections is pretty low, and things would be different if we could get a better turnout. So get everybody out, vote. I always say vote early, vote often. You know, get out there and do it. But you know, we have that right to do that. We've got a lot of people in the military sacrificing a lot so that we have that right to vote. So we want to do that. So, does anybody have a question or a concern they'd like to ask? If not, thank you all for being here. We appreciate the chamber putting on the event and the newspaper being here. We always appreciate all the support we get at election time, and we thank you all very, very much. And we hope to see you on November 6th at the polls.
First, thank you folks for hosting us. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. Of course, these are very important times in our state. No one understands that more than, of course, the Chamber and the News Progress, who have covered it very well. I came into office about 2 years ago. I've had the privilege of serving Moultrie County, and fortunately, after redistricting, I will still have the privilege of representing you here in Moultrie County. So, my district changed quite a bit. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to for me. I used to represent part of Macon, all of Moultrie, and part of Shelby counties. Now I pick up part of 7 counties. But I will keep the entirety of Moultrie County moving forward as well. So please feel free to let your neighbors know that I will still be your representative. You can always call my office. And we will keep our office here at the Farm Bureau as well. I'm here every other Friday morning. If not personally, I'll send a member of my staff over. But if you give me a call and let me know that you have an interest at heart, I'm always more than happy to travel down and meet with you one-on-one. Over the past several years, we've faced some very serious issues in the state legislature. Most importantly, just 12 hours before I was sworn into office, we saw the largest income tax hike in Illinois' history. 67% income tax hike. The reinstatement of the estate tax, which of course hit my family farm, but also hit agricultural interests across not only our state, but especially my district, which is made up of little agricultural subdivides across the 7-county district. So that's been a frustrating fact that we've had to face over the past 2 years. Also, state spending, we trimmed back about $2 billion the first year I was in office. Unfortunately, the negotiation table didn't work out real well for the interest of taxpayers this year. State spending actually increased by another $300 million this year. So while we trimmed back $2 billion the first year I was in office, the state spending has actually increased this past year. That's something we have to continue to push back against. That's when constituents have to get upset with the state government. We've got an $8 billion deficit and the state continues to spend more than we take in each year. So that's one of my most sincere frustrations. Also, the tax structure, of course, as I mentioned, has been plaguing us. I'm down to 30 seconds now. But let me tell you about how important it is that our local interests speak up. Right here in Shelby, or in Moultrie County, I had Sullivan Police Chief Love give me a call. And he said, we had 2 cases down here where minors were being pulled over in a vehicle. And in the vehicle with them were convicted sex offenders. These convicted sex offenders, in 2 separate cases right here in Sullivan, were allowed not by the parents, because the parents were checking cell phone records, they were checking emails, to ride with these sex offenders, but they were allowed by state law to ride with these sex offenders. So what the state law currently says is we have to prove that sexual relations are happening in these vehicles or at a residence or so on and so on. So the Sullivan police force, their hands were tied. They said, we don't want these sex offenders transporting our children. Of course, it wasn't kidnapped because the 14 and 13-year-olds in this case wanted to be with the sex offender. The parents, of course, didn't want the sex offender to be with their children. And so it was a difficult situation. I introduced the bill last May to resolve the situation and say you have to have consent from the parent or guardian if a sex offender is going to be transporting your child. Makes sense to me, pretty common sense effort. Fortunately, that passed unanimously in the House. Got over to the Senate a little bit too late, and so they didn't have an opportunity to vote on that. Of course, that's going to be the first bill that I reintroduce in the next legislative session. A bill to protect our families, protect our children. Something that bridges the gap between Republicans and Democrats and just makes common sense, folks. So that's been the most heartfelt, most grassroots effort that I've picked up, originated right here in Sullivan. I hope more of those issues, of course, come forward from the grassroots, and I have an opportunity to introduce legislation on your behalf. So please feel free to contact me anytime. Like I said, our Sullivan office will stay open as we make this transition.